Buckle your seatbelt, Dorothy.
How can you truly enjoy the meal unless you know the flavor? Welcome back, ABL fans. This is Big Earl, your trusted voice in action baseball league analysis, coming at you with our 11th installment of Deep Dive 25. Watch your fingers, because we're about to slice, dice, and dissect all the nuances of this great league. A heartfelt salute to the sports journalist at the Detroit Free Press for your straightforward and unpretentious coverage. Your focus on the athletes and their stories is a refreshing take that fits the spirit of the team perfectly. Okay, ABL fanatics, let's do this. Whether it's the Central workhorses, the Western wildcards, or the Eastern powerhouses, we're covering it all. See it for yourself. The Detroit Dukes in the Central Division of the NBC, a team that's a force to be reckoned with, especially as the reigning grand champions of baseball. Known for having a shrewd approach and a knack for maintaining a dynamic and competitive roster, they embody Motor City's enduring spirit. Watch out for the Dukes, folks. They're poised to defend their title with gusto. If you're one of those folks who can't get enough of the nitty-gritty, the ins and outs, the ups and downs of ABL baseball, then this deep dive is for you. It's like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You never know what treasure you're gonna find. Grab a cup of classic Detroit Coney Island coffee and rev up those engines, because we're diving into a squad as robust and storied as Detroit's legendary auto industry and the rhythmic beat of its Motown soul.
Question 1. How does the owner's personality and negotiation style influence the team's culture and performance?
The double-edged sword of Detroit Dukes owner David Figueiredo. In the heart of Motor City, where the roar of engines and the clank of metal echo through the streets, another sort of machinery is at work, the Detroit Dukes Baseball Club. And at the helm, owner David Figueiredo, a 73-year-old gent with an easygoing demeanor but a laser-focused aim, hoist that championship flag by 82 or bust. The guy sets the tone, make no mistake. His laid-back style seeps down, creating a player-friendly locker room where guys can breathe easy. But don't get too comfy. His normal and temperamental negotiation style means he's not afraid to crank up the heat. It's a dynamic that keeps GM Jesus Martinez in a constant dance, free enough to wheel and deal but always aware of the line. On the field, the pressure is mounting on manager Jose Perez. Expect to see some daring plays and a heavier lean on power pitchers. Bottom line, Figueiredo's intricate balancing act between being a pal and a taskmaster could be the Detroit Dukes' ticket to glory or their Achilles heel. So, fans, keep your eyes peeled because the Dukes are on the clock, and it's ticking fast.
Question 2. What roles do the front office and coaches play in the team's success or struggles? Are they aligned with the owner's vision?
Front office and coaches, Detroit Dukes powerhouse or pitfall? Listen, when it comes to baseball, it ain't just about the guys on the field. You've got the front office and coaches, the brains behind the brawn, shaping the destiny of the Detroit Dukes. GM Jesus Martinez? A personable chap with 15 years in the game and an excellent reputation. He knows how to build a winner, and he'd better, cause owner David Figueiredo's got repeat championship dreams by 82. Then there's field manager Jose Perez, a 27-year vet who loves himself some power pitchers. His decisions will be in the spotlight, make no mistake. And let's not forget the coaching staff, Eric Olson, Aaron Hawkins, and Isaiah Booten, men with decades in the game and specific skills that can turn a match. So, are they all singing from the same hymnal as the owner? On paper, absolutely. But let's get real, games ain't won on paper. It's showtime for the Dukes, and the clock is ticking. Is it gonna be a repeat championship run, or will they fall short?
Question 3. How does the team's financial health reflect in its performance?
Money talks. Are the Detroit Dukes cashing in on on-field success? Alright folks, let's talk dollars and cents, cause if you're not making sense of the dollars, you're leaving rings on the table. The Detroit Dukes are sitting pretty financially. Payroll? Just shy of $9.5 million. But check this out, total revenue is north of $13 million, with a stash of over $7 million for trades. That's not pocket change, that's a war chest. Seats at the ballpark? Nearly sold out every game, and fan interest is through the roof. Now, an astronomical market size and good fan loyalty mean these guys have the dough and the crowd to back up their game. The question ain't whether they can afford to win, it's whether they will. With the clock ticking on the owner's championship dreams, the Dukes got the means, now they gotta show they got the ends. Are the Dukes gonna cash in those chips for another championship banner or what?
Question 4. How has fan interest evolved over time, and what does it mean for the team's revenue and player acquisitions?
Fan fervor and fiscal firepower, Detroit Dukes' blessing and burden.
Listen up, baseball aficionados. When it comes to fan interest, the Detroit Dukes ain't no flash in the pan. Since '72, these guys have been the apple of Motor City's eye, with fan interest sticking around 100. What's that mean for the purse strings? Well, it's raining dollars, friends. Gate revenue, season ticket sales, and media bucks. The cash registers are singing a sweet tune to the tune of $13.2 million in total revenue. And when you've got a GM like Jesus Martinez sitting on a $7 million war chest for trades, you've got yourself a free agent's dream destination. But hold the phone, high fan interest ain't just a gravy train, it's a pressure cooker. The fans are showing up, and they ain't there for the peanuts and Cracker Jack. They want rings, banners, the whole shebang. Now that the Dukes have finally won it all, fans are talking dynasty, and the Dukes better not disappoint them.
Question 5. What is the current mood among the fan base, and how could it impact the team in the short term?
Fan frenzy, Detroit Dukes' high-stakes game of mood swings.
Alright folks, let's talk the mood among the Detroit Dukes fan base. It's hotter than a firecracker on the 4th of July. We're talking 99.5% full stands and a fan interest level that's maxed out at 100. That's not just love, that's a downright obsession. Short term, it's like a shot of adrenaline straight to the heart of the team. Players up their game, the opposing team's knees get shaky, and those extra wins can mean a ticket to the playoff dance. Money? With the cash rolling in, the front office has the green light for big trades or locking in star players. But here's the kicker, with that much love comes a heap of expectations. If the Dukes hit a skid, those cheers can turn to jeers in a heartbeat. The fan mood is both the team's rocket fuel and potential dynamite. They better handle it right, or it's gonna be a long, long season.
Question 6. How is the team faring in the league standings, and what factors are contributing to their performance?
Balanced attack. Detroit Dukes' steady climb in the standings. Alright, let's get down to brass tacks. The Detroit Dukes are sitting pretty with a 12-7 record and a .632 win percentage. Runs? They've scored 88 and given up 87. That's a razor-thin margin, but it's on the right side of the ledger. When it comes to the postseason, the odds makers are giving him a 41.9% shot at the playoffs and a 28.3% chance to rule the division. ELO rating strong at 1,533.3, signaling this ain't no fluke. And don't forget the WAR. Batters and pitchers are both stepping up, tallying a total WAR of 4.09. Bottom line, the Dukes are a well-oiled machine, humming along both at the plate and on the mound. They've got their eyes set on the postseason, and they've got the stats to back it up. So, these numbers spell playoff run or else.
Question 7. What are the team's odds of making the playoffs on a divisional and conference level?
Playoff poker, Detroit Dukes' odds in the division and league hunt.
Okay folks, let's talk numbers, the kind that could make or break a season. The Detroit Dukes got a 28.3% shot at taking the division and a 41.9% chance of making the conference playoffs. Not too shabby, huh? They're not the house favorite, but they're holding a decent hand. On the division level, they're in the scrum, duking it out like it's the last piece of pie at Thanksgiving. Conference-wide, they're sitting just shy of a coin flip, which in this game is a spot you don't mind being in. These aren't just numbers, they're a roadmap, showing the Dukes got a real shot but gotta keep their foot on the gas. So, should we buy into these odds, or hold up for a better hand?
Question 8. How do base runs and ELO ratings paint a picture of the team's true strengths and weaknesses?
Behind the numbers, Detroit Dukes' tale of two halves.
Listen, stats don't lie. Base runs and ELO ratings are the compass and map of the baseball world, pointing out where you're strong and where you're weak. The Detroit Dukes? They're a mixed bag. Expected runs scored sits at 84, but they've actually put 88 on the board. On the other hand, expected runs allowed is at 81, yet they've coughed up 87. Break it down, and you've got a team that's got some pop in their bats, but could use a tourniquet on the mound. That ELO rating of 1,533.3 ain't just a number, it's a badge, saying these guys are better than your run-of-the-mill team. But here's the kicker, if they're gonna make those playoff odds a reality, that pitching staff better step up, and the bats can't go cold. Front office decision time, are the Dukes gonna shore up that pitching, or are they rolling the dice with what they've got?
Question 9. What does the team's WAR indicate about its most valuable players?
True MVPs, decoding the Detroit Dukes WAR numbers.
All right, folks, WAR, wins above replacement, gives us the lowdown on who's carrying their weight and then some. The Detroit Dukes have a batter WAR of 1.83 and a pitcher WAR of 2.26, totaling up to 4.09. What's that mean? It means they got hitters who do more than just swing for the fences. They're clutch when it counts. And that pitcher WAR? Higher than the batters, showing the real spine of this team might just be those guys on the mound. Overall, the Dukes are balanced, getting help from both the plate and the rubber. While we can't break it down player by player, I'd bet my last dollar there's a pitcher in there turning heads, and a batter or two who's not just a flash in the pan. So, who you reckon are the Dukes MVPs this season?
Question 10. How have injuries impacted the team's performance and depth?
Navigating the injury minefield, the Detroit Dukes story.
Look, injuries are the banana peels of baseball. Step on one, and down you go. The Detroit Dukes? They've got 2 injuries on the books, 21 days on the DL, and $61.7 thousand tied up in that medical ward. Lucky? Maybe. But let's not kid ourselves. Even a couple of injuries can turn a roaring lineup into a whimper or make a bullpen look like Swiss cheese. Depth hasn't been put under the microscope yet, but give it time. As for that $61.7 thousand on the DL, it ain't breaking the bank, but remember, every buck on the DL is a buck not spent somewhere else. So far, the Dukes have sidestepped the injury landmines, but don't get too comfy. This season's still got a long way to go. Keep those fingers crossed.
Question 11. What do the team's batting statistics reveal about its offensive capabilities?
The Detroit Dukes' offensive playbook, balanced but not bombastic. The Detroit Dukes are putting up numbers that tell us they're no slouches at the plate. They've scored 88 runs and boast a decent .268 batting average. These guys are disciplined, walking 9.65% of the time and striking out only 15%. But don't look for fireworks. Their .379 slugging percentage and .111 ISO tell us they're more about base hits than big blasts. In short, they've got a balanced attack but lack the raw power to light up the scoreboard with home runs. They're the kind of team that'll grind you down rather than knock you out. Either they've got the right formula, or they could be missing that big bat in the lineup.
Question 12. How does the pitching staff stack up against divisional and conference competition?
The Dukes mound men, steady but not spectacular.
The Detroit Dukes pitching staff is a bit of a mixed bag. They've got a 4.06 ERA and have struck out 104 batters, so they can bring the heat when needed. Plus, they're pretty good at keeping the ball in the park with a home run to fly ball rate of just 7.7%. But hold your horses, they've got issues too. A walk rate of 7.63% and a LOB percent of 69.8% tell us they're giving away too many free passes and leaving too many guys on base. So, are they ace material? Not quite. But they're far from a disaster. In a nutshell, they're competitive but could use a tweak or two to really shine. Is this a pitching staff that can carry the Dukes deep into the playoffs?
Question 13. Are the team's fielding statistics a strength or a weakness?
Dukes fielding, the good, the bad, and the fixable.
The Detroit Dukes are holding their own in the field but aren't winning any gold gloves just yet. With a zone rating of 3.53, they're more than competent at gobbling up balls in their area. They've also turned 21 double plays, showing they can wipe the bases clean in a pinch. But let's not pop the champagne yet. 11 errors and a caught stealing rate of just 26.67% need some work. They're not butchering it up there, but they ain't exactly flawless either. The takeaway? They're good enough to not lose you the game, but not so good that they'll win you one on gloves alone.
Question 14. What do base running stats say about the team's tactical approach?
Dukes base running, playing it safe, maybe too safe?
The Detroit Dukes are no running redbirds on the base paths, that's for sure. With a mere 2 stolen bases and 2 caught stealing, they're playing it as conservative as a bunt with a runner on first. A 50% success rate in swiping bag shows when they do decide to run, it's basically a coin toss. Their weighted stolen base runs sit at a nearly neutral 0.18, meaning they're not gaining much, but they're not losing much either. Essentially, they're putting the game squarely on the shoulders of their hitters and saying, "You get us around the bags." Are the Dukes missing a trick by keeping their running game on a short leash, or is caution the better part of valor here?
Question 15. Who are the standout performers in batting, and what do their stats reveal?
Dukes batting stars, a blend of youth and experience.
The Detroit Dukes batting lineup is a mix of old school and new school, and it's working for them. At 37, Francisco Fernandez is the elder statesman, but don't tell his bat. It's too busy hitting a sizzling .319 with a couple of homers. Luis Rios may be only batting .231, but he's got a team-high 3 home runs, making him a threat every time he steps up. Miranda's got power, but needs to be more than a two-trick pony. His .238 average leaves room for improvement. Ethan Harrison, another seasoned pro at 36, may not have a home run yet, but he's a hit machine with a .292 average. Finally, Tony King is holding his own, batting .265 and crossing the plate 10 times, even without a homer to his name. All in all, the Dukes batters are a balanced bunch, each bringing something to the table. But if they want to make a serious playoff run, they'll need to turn those somethings into a lot of somethings, consistently.
Question 16. Who are the key figures in the pitching staff, and how do they influence games?
Dukes mound men, a blend of fire and finesse. The Detroit Dukes pitching staff is a study in contrasts. Mike Miranda is the undisputed ace, a 32-year-old flamethrower with an eye-popping 1.49 ERA and 8.44 strikeouts per nine. This guy's a game winner, plain and simple. Then you've got the crafty veteran, 38-year-old Jose Flores, who's still getting it done with a 3.14 ERA, though his 5.63 strikeouts per nine tells you he's more about guile than gas. Brett Helvey's a reliable arm, but his 4.85 ERA and 4.5 strikeouts per nine say he's not setting the world on fire. And don't sleep on the young gun, John Solis. At 26, he's got room to grow, but an 8.18 strikeouts per nine suggests he's got the stuff to make batters swing and miss. Overall, it's a rotation with upside and experience, but there's room for a tune-up, especially when it comes to consistency.
Question 17. Who excels in base running and fielding, and how do they impact the game's outcome?
Base paths and leather, Dukes hidden gems.
When it comes to the Detroit Dukes, don't blink or you might miss a game-changing play. On the base paths, keep an eye on 24-year-old Alex Escobedo and 30-year-old Alex Diaz. Both are flawless in their stolen base attempts, adding some much-needed speed and game savvy to the Dukes' conservative base running strategy. In the field, it's the reliable 30-year-old Luis Rios at second base who's gobbling up grounders like a vacuum, boasting a stellar zone rating and racking up 17 double plays. Don't count out the old man of the outfield, 37-year-old Francisco Fernandez, whose glove work is still top-notch according to his zone rating. And let's not forget about Escobedo again. The young fella is doing double duty with his glove, showing he can be a key part of the Dukes' defense for years to come. So, while the Dukes might not be known for their speed and flash, they've got some under-the-radar talent that can tip the scales in a close game.
Question 18. What does the team's age demographic reveal about its experience and future potential?
Age and wisdom versus youth and vigor, the Dukes balancing act.
Look folks, the Detroit Dukes are no spring chickens. With a major league average age hovering just under 31, they're seasoned, especially those pitchers who've crossed the 32-year threshold. They've been around the block, and that's golden crunch time. But don't forget, they've got a AAA squad averaging close to 30 and a AA team at about 26, ripe for some old-timer wisdom. Even further down, the Class A kids are barely hitting the drinking age. They're the raw clay ready for molding. But let's not sugarcoat it, age can catch up, and injuries aren't kind to the older guys. The Dukes have to keep an eye on the clock and start thinking about infusing some young blood to keep this machine rolling.
Question 19. Who has had the best batting and pitching games, and what do these performances signify for the team?
Game changers, stellar individual performances igniting the Dukes.
Listen up, ABL fans, we've got some fireworks on the field from the Detroit Dukes. Francisco Fernandez and Tony King have been killing it at the plate. Fernandez put on an RBI clinic against the Minneapolis Blizzard, and King was the guy you wanted in the batter's box in a nail-biter against San Diego. But let's not forget the arms. Mike Miranda threw an 11-inning shutout masterpiece against Atlanta, while John Solis nearly pitched a no-hitter in another game against the Kings. These are the kinds of performances that tell the league, hey, don't sleep on the Dukes. When you've got guys who can turn a game on its head like that, you're not just playing, you're contending.
Question 20. What does your gut tell you about this team in the 1981 championship season and the Grand Tournament of Champions?
Gut check. The Dukes prospects for 1981 and beyond.
All right, folks, let's cut to the chase. The Detroit Dukes? A good team, sure, but not your next Grand Tournament of Champions winner. Not this year, at least. They've got some heavy hitters and ace pitchers like Francisco Fernandez and Mike Miranda. But let's face it, they're not consistently lighting up the scoreboard or shutting down opposing lineups to be real contenders in the G2C. However, don't lose faith, they've got something cooking. The front office knows what they're doing, and the farm system's brimming with young talent. So, while this might not be their year for a banner, don't count them out for the future. This is a team on the cusp. Give them a little more time, and they might just surprise you.
Question 21. What is the team's history in the Grand Tournament of Champions?
The Dukes in the G2C, a tale of triumphs and trials.
So, you want to talk history, huh? Well, the Detroit Dukes' journey in the Grand Tournament of Champions reads like a Shakespearean drama, full of highs, lows, and a whole lot of nail-biting moments. 5 playoff appearances in a decade? That's more action than a Hollywood blockbuster. They've tasted heartbreak, sure, close calls in 74, 75, 76, and 79. But then there's 1980, when they ruled the NBC and became the grand champions of baseball. They know what victory tastes like, and they're hungry for more. They've got a championship under their belt and a legacy to uphold, which tells me they're not content with just being another team in the league. Keep an eye on these Dukes, they're fighters.
Question 22. What is the team's history in previous seasons?
The Detroit Dukes, a roller coaster of resilience and rivalry.
The Detroit Dukes are a study in cyclical highs and lows, folks. Since their debut in 72, they've been a mixed bag, early struggles, a mid-70s playoff burst, and a financial turnaround. They hit the skids in 77 and 78, but got their mojo back to win it all in 1980. This ain't a dynasty, but it ain't a doormat either. They've got the bucks to spend, a .525 lifetime winning percentage, and a fan base that sticks with them through thick and thin. Right now, in 81, they're showing signs of life with a strong start and a pocket full of cash. But let's not forget, they've got a history of peaks and valleys. The big question, is this the start of another peak or just a blip on the radar? Keep your eyes peeled, baseball fans. The Dukes are always good for a show.
Question 23. What's your take on last season?
The 1980 Detroit Dukes, grit over glitz.
1980, the year the Detroit Dukes made the magic happen. They finished 86 and 76, just a game shy of leading the division. Don't let that .241 team batting average or 3.59 ERA fool you. These guys were clutch when it counted. They took the Phoenix Firebirds to the cleaners in the division series and swept the Chicago Fire like it was a Sunday chore. Then, in a heart-stopper of a grand championship, they bested the Houston Mavericks in 7 games. No statistical fireworks, just good old-fashioned baseball smarts and guts. And let's not forget, the financials looked as pretty as a double play. 2.2 million fans through the gates and a healthy $10 million balance to cap it off. In 1980, the Dukes were the big story, not just in Detroit, but across the ABL.
Question 24. How does what happened in the 1980 season reflect on the 1981 early campaign?
Echoes of 80 and the Dukes' 81 start.
Listen, folks, don't think for a second that the Detroit Dukes are resting on their 1980 laurels. Nah, they've kicked off 81 like a team that's had a taste of the champagne and wants another sip. With a 12-7 start and a .632 winning percentage, they're showing that last year wasn't a one-off. Their bats are hotter than a July afternoon, posting a .268 average, up from last year's .241. But don't get too comfy, there's a little hiccup with the pitching staff, sporting a 4.06 ERA early on. The purse strings are loose, too, with a hefty $11.5 million balance for any tweaks down the road. Bottom line, the Dukes are still the team to beat, and every rival knows it. They've got the bullseye on their back, but you get the feeling they wouldn't have it any other way. So, do these early signs give you that tingling sense of deja vu, or are you a bit cautious about getting too hyped too early?
Question 25. What is your take on the current roster?
The 81 Dukes, flash in the pan or a searing comet.
Here's the scoop on the 81 Detroit Dukes. They're a mixed bag that could either be a jackpot or a time bomb. Ace Mike Miranda is dealing filth with a 1.49 ERA, but looks like he could use a nap. Solis and Flores? One's got to pull his weight, the other's solid but gassed. The bullpen? Call it a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. The catchers are a study in contrast. Semper's gotta get that bat going, while Ornelas is on fire. Infielders? Rios is a power factory, but strikes out like he's blindfolded. Miranda and Escobedo are holding their own. Outfielders? Fernandez is the MVP, no question, and Harrison's discipline at the plate makes him a secret weapon. The lineups? Built for power, whether facing righties or lefties. Oh, and they'll miss Martinez like a kid misses candy. All in all, this team's got firepower, but there are some chinks in the armor. They're exciting but need to plug some holes to make another deep run. Alright, how do you size them up based on this early season snapshot? Are you smelling a repeat championship run? Well, there you have it. Your up-close and personal deep dive into the Detroit Dukes. We've dissected their strengths, weaknesses, and everything in between. For yourself. We've peeked into the owner's suite, dug into the dugout, and even scoped out the fans in the bleachers. And let me tell you, what a ride it's been. Like a well-pitched game, we've covered all the bases, but remember, baseball is a game of unpredictability. Just when you think you've got it figured out, it throws you a curveball. The Detroit Dukes, a team that's been revving through the regular season like a classic muscle car at a Motor City Auto Show. But when it comes to the Grand Tournament of Champions, they've shown they can be the main event. Will they continue to roar across the diamond and dominate the spotlight, or will they need to tune up to remain a headline act in the ABL's grand sporting saga? The Dukes' tale is far from over, and the next chapter promises to be a page-turner. Big Earl here, folks. Keep your eyes peeled for future reports as we navigate through the twists and turns of another gripping ABL season. So, whether you're a fan of the Dukes or just love the game, the best is yet to come. Until next time, this is the game. See it for yourself.
Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself.
See it for yourself.
How would you know the difference between the dream world and the real world? You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.